going on this evening? This is your boy Tipsy. I got my boy Rick with me. Rick, what's up?
How's it going?
And we're here today on the Overtime Sports Radio Show, bringing you another great presentation. Um, we're gonna go kind of get right into it a little bit real quick, and right now we're gonna talk about the NCAA tournament that's going on. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of the games. Rick, I don't know if you've had a chance to, catch a couple of games, but what I've been noticing is that there have been a lot of upsets, especially with the 13 and 5 matchups. Um, Oregon and even what is that? Harvard won the other day, and
Right.
LaSalle won today. I mean, it's a lot of craziness going on. A lot of people's brackets are just all shot to hell over these 13 seeds winning all these matchups, especially with Kansas State losing today. Um, as
Yeah,
a
a lot, a
bas
lot
as
of
a,
people had K-State going in against Duke in the next round, and like you said, that part of the bracket's now broken for a lot of people. Of course, Gonzaga's going to hold up their end coming off the top there, but yeah, so that broke a lot of hearts right there. Cost a lot of people some money.
yeah, I'm sure, especially that, and especially the Harvard one. Like, I don't think anybody saw Harvard basketball team winning a game in the tournament, and
They were
so
shooting out of their minds. I don't know what the heck they served in the in the room back there, but they were shooting out of their minds. I mean, they were methodical. They were moving the ball around, and they were just sinking everything.
yeah, it's amazing. It looks like the tournament, you know, could be up for. I mean, really at this point, if a lot of these top seeds continue to lose to these lower seeds, I mean, it could really be a wide open race for the national championship.
Yeah, but I think you'll see. I mean, you know this from past experiences. There's always a bunch of those, dreamers coming out in the first round. Anything can happen, but once you get to the Sweet 16, things kind of settle down. The top seeds or the cream starts to rise to the top, and we stand. And you kind of want to, I personally, I mean, I like the underdog story, but to be honest, when you get to the Sweet 16, I mean, I like to see good basketball. I like to see competitive games. And when you start pitting some of these teams against the Dukes and the Kentuckys, I mean, you start getting slaughters up there in the Sweet 16. It kind of takes the fun out of it for me.
Right now, we have a. I'm gonna give you a quick upset alert to watch for right now. Florida Gold Coast, the 15 seed, is up by 4 points on Georgetown with 51 seconds to go in the second half.
Come
So
on now, that's home
this could
team,
be
baby. Come on,
this
G
could be
Town.
another complete shocker right here. I had never even heard of Florida Gold Coast University, but they're up 72 to 68 with 51 seconds left in the second half.
Well, if I was going to pick a university to go to, that would be the one. I mean, you spend you're sitting out in the sand with your feet up, laying in a hammock doing your homework, nothing but honeys running around in bikinis all day. I mean, that would definitely be the first college of my choice. I don't care how prestigious Georgetown is. I'll take the girls every time, bud.
I feel you on that. Definitely feel you on that. But this could be devastating to the whole. If the Georgetown goes down in in the bracket that they're in, like it's just going to be terrible. Like these teams are they're taking these lower seed teams lightly, and these teams are really coming to embarrass them.
Well, I still think again the cream of the crop's going to rise here. I mean, they got enough time. I mean, if they've got they were Big East champions. They got the best player in basketball. I think they'll be all right. I think they'll pull it out. But it is interesting how they let these games get so close with so much on the line.
I just I can't call it. It seems like you think they would want to play at their best, but it's like they sleep on these teams. They think they're just going to roll over them. And right now, with 38 seconds left, like Georgetown is going to go down.
Yeah, so what are they within four now? Is that where we're at?
With what?
Are they within 4 points now? Is that where we're at?
5 points, 6 points,
6 points? Oh my God. Yeah,
six
that's going to be a
points.
major upset.
A
Lots
major
of
upset in this bracket.
lots of money going down in this one.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be cursing, and come Monday, it's not going to look good.
Yeah, I remember when uh, what you call 'em, made their first run. Gonzaga started coming through.
Yeah.
Finally got a little street cred and got their uh, got their first round, number one seed this year, and I don't know. Hopefully they can make it and keep something going there because I really like their story coming out from nowhere.
Yeah, there's always a good story in there every season when it comes to when it comes to this tournament because really, with so many teams, some good teams are bound to take a fall.
That single elimination, that's rough, man. I mean, you have
Yeah.
one bad game and you're done.
And that's what I'm saying. Like you gotta come to play. If you're a top seed, like you gotta come to play. It's a one and done situation. You gotta come to play, and you can't sleep on these lower seed teams because the lower seed teams don't have nothing to lose.
Exactly. This is their whole thing, man. This is their one shot. They're going to take advantage of it and do everything they can. They're going to give you everything they have. They figure, hey, this might be the only time I get to the tournament. And that's another thing. You get teams like the Kentuckys and the Dukes and even the North Carolinas back in the day. You wonder how they're able to turn it on every year after year after year. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. To be able to continue to have that focus. And you got to give a lot of it to the coaches there getting their teams up for these games every year. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it is definitely something phenomenal. It's definitely exciting to watch, but we're down to 29 seconds. Like this is going to be bad for them.
Well, that's one thing about basketball. 29 seconds is an eternity. In a football game, it's three plays, but in basketball, a foul, a couple foul shots, inbounds, another foul shots. I mean, this thing could go on for another half hour.
Oh, this game is over. 5 seconds left. It's 78-68. There's no coming back from this.
Oh
It's a
no!
it's a wrap for Georgetown.
Oh no! Boy, that's bad. That's a huge one.
That was a huge one, and it's by 10 points, which means they pretty much gave up towards the end and they didn't have a chance. And
Wow!
that and that's it for that. And it's
Wow!
just and this just goes to show again that if you don't come with your A game and you don't come to play and you're a top seed, you will go home.
Well, that's why they play the games because anyone can win.
So that's great. Well, another quick news, Ohio State looks like they're going to win handily. They're up 82-58. North Carolina's up 9 on Villanova and Florida is up 9-8 on Northwestern State, wherever that's at.
Yeah, out there somewhere.
Wherever Northwestern State is. I had to get a
That's
research team on that.
that's hilarious.
I've never heard of it before.
Northwestern State.
You ever heard of Northwestern State?
No, I have not.
A lot of teams in the tournament. Northwestern State Demons looks like they're from Louisiana. That looks like the state logo on their page here.
It's funny how you get these conference winners from these no-name conferences, and I mean, I guess that's why this tournament draws so much popularity, especially with that a whole underdog type of thing. Is that you can win one of these little no-name conferences and get a chance to actually go against the big boys in the big tournament. So that's pretty cool. Actually,
And
it's,
this is
it's go ahead.
and this is why I think that the NCAA basketball tournament and NCAA basketball in general is so much better than college basketball because really, literally, if you can get into the tournament for college basketball, even you may be a 16 seed from some no-name college, if everything falls right, you could possibly win a national championship. Like it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's there. When in college football, you don't have that opportunity. If you're not from one of the big college football conferences, like you don't have a chance. Like a local team, like a Norfolk State or somebody like that, can never win a national championship in football.
Right. Well, I mean, it's four games. You
Yeah,
you if you can just hang in there four games, you're in the championship game. I
yeah.
mean,
And that's
that's
and that's
pretty
what I'm
wild.
saying. Like, now Norfolk State's basketball team could possibly win a national championship if everything would fall into place where they could blow through some teams and make it to the championship game. We've seen it with small teams like Butler who went back to back and almost had a chance to win back to back, but they just came up short. Like anybody can get to the championship game and win in college basketball, which I think makes it more exciting than college football, because college football from the beginning to the end, you pretty much kind of know who they're going to keep in the top two or three in order to get these matchups. Like, the voting is biased, and it's not that much bias here, because any team in college basketball, if you win enough games, you could be the number one team if you beat enough teams. You can
Oh
win a
yeah,
national championship if you play. You know what I'm saying? If you happen to play a fairly good, if some of the other teams, good teams, fall and you happen to win, you could get to the national championship game and possibly win and be a team out of nowhere. So, you're right. The excitement level is there because of these little schools, that win their tournaments that nobody's ever heard of, like the Southland Conference and the Northwestern State Demons. Like,
right,
they,
exactly,
and they're
exactly.
not even the lowest seed. They're a 14 seed. So, and they're playing Florida and they're only down by 8 against the number 3 seed, and they have, the whole second half to go. They could possibly win.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why it's so cool. And yeah, like you were talking about with the college football, uh, until they go to a true playoff system, that whole thing is broke. The whole BCS bowls and all that, that's all junk anyway. It should have been thrown out years ago. There should have been a playoff system in place. They got a half-hearted one coming up. I think next year, year after, they'll start the 14 playoff. But there needs to be a playoff system similar to the NFL. If you look at the NCAA tournament, there's a business model here that succeeds, and what that
Yes.
is allowing every team a chance, a shot at the title, not just the entitled ones, not just the ones who can schedule correctly and get through a season without taking a loss. You open it up to the underdog story, the Cinderella story. That's what America loves. That's what America will pay to see, and if you give it to them, they will come.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
I love it.
True. Yeah, it's great. It's getting exciting, and if these big schools keep going down, it's going to even get a little bit more interesting, because people are definitely going to tune in to see, which of these lower seeds could possibly make some noise here.
I think the only thing that could be better is if we were sitting in a sports book in Vegas with a Mai Tai in my hand.
Oh, I'm sure the sports bookies in Vegas right now are just like shot to hell over this Georgetown thing, because they probably didn't expect that.
Absolutely.
They didn't expect any of those 13 seeds. But I mean, I've seen some of these 13 seeds. Like, I've seen Oregon play. Like, they have a good team, and they're a little underrated because they're Oregon and their school's more known for football than for basketball.
Absolutely.
So that is, that's definitely why they're not getting as much respect as they probably should. But they're a pretty good team.
Absolutely. Looks like we got to take a break now.
We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and when we come back, we'll discuss a little more of the NCAA tournament, and then we'll delve into the NBA and this 24-game Miami Heat winning streak.
Whoa, on
My Green Bay
Fuego.
Packers.
What's going on? This is Fuego Beast from Fuego Beast Radio, and I want to tell everyone to check out the greatest sci-fi radio station out, Super 564 on Blog Talk Radio. They have the best topics, including sci-fi films, comic books, video games, and they even have a featured artist segment for musicians weekly. So if you have an obsession with sci-fi films, music, or video games like me, then this is the station for you. Make sure you check them out on blogtalkradio.com/super564. That's blogtalkradio.com/SUPAFI64. All right? And remember, stay connected.
All right, we're back from commercial break. Welcome to Overtime Sports Radio Show. I
Yes,
am
sir.
Tipsy, and this is my boy Rick on here.
What's up?
What's going on? The Overtime Sports Radio Show brought to you by Super 564 and JSNL Clothing. And right now, we're gonna wrap up a little bit on the the NCAA tournament here and delve into the NBA real quick. So, Rick, quickly, I just want to know, who do you have in your Final Four?
Wow. I mean, I'm going with chalk. Give me the number one seeds. I just, I mean, there might be, a number two come in, maybe Duke. I mean, might be the only one I see, but uh, I go chalk, man. I go Kansas. I mean, they look great. I just can't see. Um, I mean, Georgetown's gone. I mean, that was going to be my kind of my. I don't know if you call them a dark horse number two, but um, I guess that maybe that was just me reaching because I've rooted for them since back in the day. But I mean, Indiana. I mean, I don't. I think they're going to win it all anyway. I don't think it really matters who else is going to be there. But give me chalk and maybe Duke is number two coming in.
All right. I think Louisville will make it because I think they're just probably the most talented of the teams that's out there. I think Indiana will get there because they're just. I mean, what is that? Cody Zeller, like he's just
Right.
a long, lanky monster.
Right. A beast.
Just he's a beast. And I would say Ohio State, but I think I'm gonna go Gonzaga because I think the one dude that they got, Olenek or whatever, he's just a beast. But he reminds me too much of Adam Morrison, so I wanna say Gonzaga, but at the same time, you don't want to be compared too much to Adam Morrison. But
So you think Gonzaga's legit, huh? A lot of people are saying that it's just going to be another fizzle out, but you think they're legit, huh?
I think they're legit enough, and I think that the tournament is going to weed out some of the tougher opponents for them in their division of the bracket, where it's going to be kind of easy for them. It's going to be surprising if they don't make it.
Right, that's true.
And I'm going to go with
3 and 4 is already gone, right? New Mexico's gone, Kansas State's already gone. I mean,
yeah.
Ohio
So
State.
Who are they going to play?
Right, exactly.
And I'm going to pick VCU. I'm going to pick VCU to go.
Ah,
I think VCU, they've already had that experience. They have too much speed, and the guards are just way too good, defensively to, that they can really shut down any of the guards. There aren't really that many good guards anyway, really. It's mostly big men, and that's the only thing they lack, and that's the only thing I could really see where they would run into some trouble making it to the Final Four is that they don't have that big dominant guy. They rely more on speed and guard play than, the inside power game.
So they're going to have to go through Kansas to get there.
I think Kansas will lose before then.
Oh, wow. Wow. UNC?
I think Kansas will lose before then. Maybe to UNC, maybe to somebody else if they even get to play UNC. I just don't think. I think Kansas is one of those iffy teams where they don't always come to play. They think they can always get by just because they're Kansas, and somebody's going to knock them off.
Well, I know that UNC Villanova is an 8-9, but I don't think they're that close. I really do. I think UNC's I think they're number one. Their coach has been there, done that. I just think they're a better team. So I think they'll definitely, breeze through their game against Villanova, and I think it will be, it'll be a tough matchup. Kansas, UNC, both of them have been there. I mean, we've seen this matchup before, so it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out. That's a crazy pick. I like that.
UNC right now is up by 4 with a minute and a half left against Villanova.
Yeah.
So anything can still happen there. All right, so we got the Final Four. Who do you think ultimately wins the national championship? It's a tough pick.
My man got cut off, I think.
He get cut off?
Yeah, yo. But since Fuego's on right now, I would like to say, I think Indiana or something. I'm trying to pick them, just because their name is Indiana and I like that name. I'm just joking. I don't even pay attention to college. I'm being real with y'all. So I'm just listening to these boys, man. They saying Indiana's nice. They talking what, Louisville?
Louisville.
That's I'm kind of thinking I'm going that way, that Louisville name, because I don't like Indiana because I hate the Pacers. So so that's what it is. I'm going to try to get Rick back, and then I will leave y'all alone. I don't know what happened to his line. What the hell just happened to this? No, I don't want to try to get him back. Why? Okay, let's do this. Remove him. Okay, we'll get him back. We'll get him back, everybody. He's coming back in. Connecting. That's what happens with the DC area internet. It drops for no reason. That's what's up. Oh man, come on, man. Yo, you know what, Tipsy? Yo, we're gonna go to a commercial break. I think you should do that.
All right, we're going to go to a quick commercial break on Overtime Sports Radio Show. We're having a little tough technical difficulties, and we'll be right back in a second.
And you're listening to Ghetto Radio. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Log in, FuegoBeats.com, YouTube, Mr. Fuego Beats.
Welcome back to the Overtime Sports Radio Show. I'm Tipsy, and I got my man Rick on the line. Rick, was good?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're here, and we're back. Had a little technical difficulties, but now we're back, and we're ready to get back to it. Before we had the interruption, Rick, I was asking you, after you chose your Final Four, who did you have as winning the national championship?
Oh, it's Indiana. It's been Indiana since the middle of the season. They've been on a tear. I just don't see them losing this game. They've been heading for this championship, like I said, since midseason, and I just don't see anybody stopping them.
I want to say VCU, but I know that's just not the right thing. I'm going to say Louisville is going to win. I think Rick Pitino, kind of like John Calipari, like eventually you got to have enough good teams where you have to get one.
That's true.
And I think that he has a team that's talented enough, but at the same time, what he's always seemed to lack is discipline, and he has a team that's disciplined enough to be able to win a national championship this year.
Yeah, but I still think it comes down to talent, and I just think Indiana's got too much.
You think Indiana has more talent than Louisville?
I think so. I just do. I just think pure
I think
talent.
they have more size. I think they have more size than Louisville, and I think ultimately Indiana will probably end up winning it because they have size.
That's
Like,
true.
there's nobody that can match Zella. Like, there's just not nobody, yo.
Exactly.
And I don't know how his parents did it, where they have 3 7-foot children that are probably all going to go to NBA.
Well, there are videos that can show you how they did it, but I mean,
Hey, that's just ridiculous, yo. Like, how do you raise 3 7-foot children, and they're all going to be in the NBA?
Buy a big house.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's ridiculous, yo. Like, I mean, their mom and dad just got to sit back and like, look, we did everything, yo. Y'all just go get drafted and
Exactly.
and remember what's going on over here. All the food, all the food I bought for you,
Right.
to get you to 7 feet. So
I don't think anybody would have blamed her for just taking a 50-pound bag of dog food home and just dumping it on the table and say, go for it. I mean, at that point,
hungry hippo style.
Exactly.
Just on the table and let them go for it. So let's see. So we got Indiana. I'm still gonna stick with Louisville, even though I probably should do the smart thing and pick Indiana, but I just can't. I gotta go against the grain here because I gotta have something to talk about later on. But all right, so we're gonna talk about the NBA, and right now, as everybody knows, and if you don't know, over the last 6 weeks, wherever you've been at, the Miami Heat have been on, one of the greatest runs that we've seen by a team since the 2007-2008 Houston Rockets, and they're on the verge of winning their 25th game in a row. Now, it's an amazing feat, I think, but at the same time, I think it's more amazing because of how many more teams there are, the level of the competition for the teams that they play. Now, the Lakers in 72, 73, whatever, won 33 games in a row. But you got to look at the kind of team they had. Like, I mean, they had superstars at every position, and a lot of the other teams back in the 70s, other than, let's say, maybe the Boston Celtics or something, were all playing with scrubs. Like,
Right.
It wasn't that hard to win, even though it's impressive. It wasn't that hard back then. There were less teams, and it wasn't that hard back then to win 33 games in a row. If you had Wilt Chamberlain,
What era exactly are we talking about here?
we're talking about, well, I don't know, the 70s. That's when they won the 33 in a row, when the Lakers won the 33 in a row. But they had Wilt Chamberlain and Rick Barry, and like, all these other people. If you got Wilt
True.
Chamberlain back, if you had Wilt Chamberlain back then, he was probably the tallest person in the league.
Yeah, that's true.
If you throw it into him all the time, he's going to dominate. You should win 33 games in a row.
That's true.
Like, but now you're looking at a team, Miami, who's undersized, even though they have the greatest basketball player right now, LeBron James, who's playing at a level that, probably haven't seen since early Michael Jordan. Like,
But,
he's unstoppable.
but let me ask you this, okay? I have a problem with this because to me it's tainted. Okay, here you basically you pick your team. It's like going on the playground and getting the first three picks instead of just alternating picks. You know what I mean? You get two guys, they're picking a team, and the one guy says, "Well, I get to pick the first three players." So he picks the three best players on the field to play on his side, and then he comes out and says, "Well, we won 24 straight games, so we're the best." And my answer is big deal. So what? You got the best players. Of course, you should win. Not. I would be. I would be embarrassed if I didn't win 24 in a row. I mean, they got the best team because they picked the first three, the three biggest players, the best players on the field. If they hadn't gone on this kind of a run, and they don't win multiple championships, then he really looks bad for going there in the first place and setting this whole thing in motion.
I mean, I agree with that to an extent, but at the same time, you got to look through history and look at some teams that had at least three great players on their team. You've got to look at even the Lakers with Magic Johnson. I mean, it was Magic Johnson. You had James Worthy. They had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Then they had players like Byron Scott and AC Green, and like they had players at every position, and they had at least 3 to 4 Hall of Famers on that team, and they won 5 championships.
Did they win championships and then become famous, or were they famous before they won championships? You know what I mean? You look back at the Bulls teams, and everybody's, oh, well, he had Scottie Pippen, he had Rodman, Rodman came in later after he'd already won a few, but I mean, you look at all and Nash, whatever. So what? They became household names because they won 6 championships, because they three-peated, because they, and of course Michael Jordan was the best basketball player and always will be the best basketball player to ever play. But I mean, that's another argument for another time. But I still say that, the question I would ask you is, were they famous first, or did the championships make them famous? So when you're talking about LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, he was already a superstar.
Yeah.
Chris Bosh was already a household name for anyone who was into the NBA. So, and then you go down there and you join forces, you better win. I'm sorry, you better win.
I mean, you better. You're right. They better win, and I think, but at the same time, as history has shown, as the Miami Heat have shown, it takes time. Just because you throw two great players and one really good player together, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna.
Once he stopped gagging, then they were able to win. Once the pressure, he to get that first one out and stop gagging, then yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
I mean, because let's face it, they're gonna win. They're gonna win the NBA championship this year. I mean, let's everybody that's listening. Let's be honest. They're gonna win the NBA championship this year. They've beat every team, and they've beat the best in the Western Conference handily. I mean, there's nobody that's stopping them unless they play the San Antonio Spurs in 7 games, who will just kind of maybe wear them down with slow offense and tight defense. That's the only thing that I see stopping that. And even then,
they can play every way you want to play, though. They can run a gun. They can play the half court because, I mean, they got big bodies to put on big bodies. I mean, but that's why he went there, because he had that kind of team there. You know what I mean? He that's why they should win. But again,
I mean, I don't blame him. Can you blame him for wanting to go to Miami? I mean, look what he did in Cleveland. He took Cleveland to the NBA Finals.
I have been a Washington,
which had no place, where they had no place being. They had no place being in the NBA Finals. He took them all the way to the NBA Finals, and because he didn't have that second player with him, he couldn't win. They could have won it. They could have won that series, but with just him, putting it all on his shoulders, because the rest of his team is not really that good, and nobody was going to come to Cleveland. He wasn't going to get Wade or Bosh to come to Cleveland. Even Carmelo, and he wasn't going to get anybody to come to Cleveland. He had to go if he was going to be successful and win a championship. He had to go.
Well, I want to say I disagree, because, I mean, but who knows what would have happened if he had stayed. but I've been a Bullets fan, and you know what kind of a history that's been. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
even when we had a semi decent team with Weber, um, and then right after the debacle and when when he's playing for Michigan and he calls the timeout that he didn't have. We still got him. Everybody was hyped up, and then, of course, didn't live up to the hype, and they dismantled the team. And I've been, the Muggsy Bogues there, and I mean, come on, man, I've suffered, but you know what? I stuck with my team. I will always stick with my team, even though they're named the Wizards. For God's sake, Lord forbid they back the Bullets. You know what I mean? I mean, come on. I have suffered. Okay, the Redskins have lost for 2 decades. Okay, and I am still a Washington Redskins fan. We didn't even have a baseball team. Now we're getting ready, we're on the cusp of winning a championship. But you got to stick with the home team, man. Loyalty, it's something to be said for that. And I get it. You want to win a championship, okay? But look at Dan Marino. Dan Marino stayed in Miami. He never won it. He got close, but he never won a championship. But he's still
But
revered as one of the best quarterbacks of all time.
is it really loyalty? Because technically he's not even from Cleveland. So is he really being disloyal to Cleveland if he's from another city in Ohio?
I know, but yeah. I mean, it's your state. It's I mean, it's close. It's the closest team to him. I mean,
True.
I don't know. It just
But think
means
about it. Think about it. If I call you on the phone and I'm in North Dakota and it's 18 feet of snow outside, and I'm like, yo, you should come up here and move up here. At least we'll play together and it'll be good. And you're like, it's 75 down here. I'm on the beach. I'm kind of chilling. I kind of do what I want. Why don't you come down here?
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the options. I'm gonna live in Cleveland and leave this beach, or can I get you to come down here?
I think you just got to the root of it, okay? And I think what really bothers me is that it's not the player's decision. It's not. It's the agents working for the players to get them the best deal, of course, to get the money. Okay, but all things being equal, the general managers are supposed to be putting these teams together, not the players. The players.
But he could have a better deal staying in Cleveland because he was already there. They could have offered him more money. He took less to go to Miami.
And again, so that tells me he win at all costs. You're right, win at all costs.
You got to.
I don't know. Is it winning if you already know the answer to the if you got the answers to the test and you get an A, did you really accomplish anything? That's the question. For me, the answer is no, but I disagree with a lot of people disagree with me on that. A lot of people would go down.
Cause I think you still got to play the game. I think you still got to play the game, and anything can happen in the games. You can't factor injuries. You can't factor in anything. Anything can happen. A lot of people say, oh, well, they won a championship last year, but it was a lockout. So, they didn't play as many games. And so they were hitting their stride where they probably normally would have gotten a little tired. They were hitting their stride in the 82nd game when they got to the finals.
Right.
So, it's a lot of different things. And as I'm watching the score here, they're steadily pulling away, now up by 16 against the Pistons with 5:18 left to go when they were just up by 2 at the end of the third quarter. So, I mean, pretty much Detroit's either giving up or, they've just worn them down to the point where they can't stop.
So where do you think the streak ends? I mean, what's their schedule look like after this one?
I mean, I think if they're going to win tonight, they're at 25. I think the only real challenge they have coming up is San Antonio, who just got back Tony Parker, which could be the difference in that streak ending at 30 games and not reaching 33 game mark.
Right.
So we'll see how Tony Parker plays tonight and how healthy he really is before, we get to that determination here. But it's definitely looking like, I think if they beat San Antonio, then I say if they beat San Antonio, they could probably push the streak. They could probably get to like 37, 38 wins. Like, I don't know.
The record's what, 33?
Record is 33, and they're at 25. They're gonna be at 25 right now, barring some miracle comeback from the Pistons.
Right.
They're gonna be at 25 games in a row.
Well, that's pretty insane. I mean, like you said, you still got to play the game. So I guess I got to give him props for that. But Damn, why couldn't it be another team like the Wizards?
Not to mention they came back from 27 points down a couple of nights ago against a bad Cleveland team that didn't even have Kyrie Irving
That's
or Verjao, and they were down by 27 and still ended up winning that game by 13 points.
insane.
And let's not forget the few days before that, the Boston Celtics game where they were all but dead in the water before LeBron James took over, and they won this game by 2 points. So they've shown that they can come from behind, from small deficits, from large deficits. They can just run away with it from the beginning and not even give you a chance. LeBron James one time only scored like 13 points and they still won. So, right now they've gelled. Like if you've ever played NBA 2K13 and you see that chemistry meter that they have when you're playing these games, and it starts off at like 50, and the more you play together, it goes up and goes up. Like they're at like 105 right now with the chemistry.
and pedal's still down in the middle.
And they're not even at full. I mean, their chemistry is at 100, but their gameplay, they're not even playing as good as they really can play. And that's the thing.
I mean, there's regular season. I mean, they've got that. They're pretty much got. They're going to be sewn up for number one overall in the Eastern Conference. So, I mean, at this point, really, they do need to leave a little bit in the tank. The playoffs. One thing about the NBA playoffs, man, that thing is a marathon. It's not like the NCAA tournament. 4 games you're in. That thing goes forever. So you've got you playing big boy ball then. People are putting bodies on bodies. I mean, things get a little more nasty then. So. You definitely, and they should be saving themselves a little bit, But again, that's another point. This NBA season is long, man. It's a long grind. It's a lot of travel. There's nagging injuries. They could make the determination whether you win it or not. So, I mean, I give them kudos for being able to do what they've done so far. 24 wins in a row, going for the record. I mean, I almost wonder if it's better if they don't go for the record. If it becomes a priority for them, you see themselves pushing themselves to reach a goal, and possibly lose sight. If you remember, I don't know if you remember back when was it the Patriots? They were trying to go for that perfect season, and it was such a monumental goal, and then they get to the last game, and I just think they were burnt, and and Giants took advantage of it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad to get the record. It's phenomenal if they do, but
I think that they need to figure it out what they're going to do, because if they continue with the winning streak, the key to that is that they've been relatively healthy with their players going through this streak. But at some point, these guys are going to start to get tired. I think if they get close and if they win the record, if they get the record, if they tie it or at least get one above the record, that they're going to lose the next game after that, because they're going to have to start resting their players to get to the playoffs, because it's coming up quick. And some of these players are going to need rest. LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh. I think they're keeping them together and they're going for the record. But once they get the record, you're going to see them kind of fall back a little bit. There's going to be a lot of rest going on with their starters, and their star players to get them ready for the playoffs, because what you don't want to do is carry a 35, 36, 40-game winning streak into the playoffs and then lose one of your players in the first round.
Right, and then take a big crap in the first round.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. So they want to I'm sure they want to get to at least 33 and tie it, if not break it. But if they should lose before then, you're going to see them roll out some really crappy starting fives heading into the playoffs, where you'll probably see Wade or LeBron play maybe the first quarter or second quarter and then sit the rest of the game.
Yeah, it'll be like preseason football.
Yeah.
We'll see the starters for a couple minutes, and then we'll get the scrubs out there to clean up. You'll see a bunch of 10-day contracts and all that other crap.
Yeah, you'll see Juwan Howard get out of his 3-piece suit and suit back up and get on the court.
So I'm having flashbacks now. Come on, it's
coming to that. It's coming to Juwan Howard. He's been sitting on the bench with his suit on, but once this streak is over, whether they break it or whether they lose before then, Juwan Howard will be suited back up and back out on the court.
When we come back, I want to tell you a story about Juwan Howard. Actually, got a chance to meet him, and I dealt him blackjack and kicked his butt.
Oh, that would definitely be something interesting that we will be. I will be eagerly waiting to hear because that should be funny. And we'll get right into that after we come back from this quick commercial break for Overtime Sports Radio Show.
Yo, this is Rick from JustManTalk.com, and you're listening to Overtime on FuegoBeats.com.
Hello, my name is Anthony Ramirez. I am owner-operator of Ramirez Internet Solutions. Here at Ramirez Internet Solutions, we specialize in creating WordPress websites, aiding companies with their content management, and helping create search engine optimization-friendly material for the web. We also specialize in graphic design, logo design, and print marketing, creating all your graphics and designs for your web and print advertising. So if you are a small business, business startup, or not happy with your current website, let Ramirez Internet Solutions take care of your website for you. Even if you have an existing website but don't have the time to manage it, let us manage it for you, so you'll be free to do what you need to do, and that's run your business. Contact Ramirez Internet Solutions today at 571-572-0415. Again, that's 571-572-0415. Or email us at aramirez@ramirezzsolutions.com or visit us on the web at www.ramirezzsolutions.com. That's www.ramirezzsolutions.com. Look forward to hearing from you soon.
Hey, welcome back to the Overtime Sports Radio Show, brought to you by Superfly 64. It's one of our partner stations. You know, they got sci-fi, video games, and comic books. Also brought to you by JSNL Clothing. You know, get your latest fashions with the watches, t-shirts, and the newest edition we got is the sunglasses. So, you know, be sure to check that out, www.jsnlonline.com. Your host, Tipsy, back with my man, Rick. Rick, what's up?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's what's up. We're going to wind this show down here, but I want to get into NFL free agency. You know, it's kind of winding down a little bit. It was fast and furious the first, week or so, but now that pretty much all the big names are gone, I want to discuss a little bit about, a lot of especially the Baltimore Ravens and what happened with them, and, who do we feel like are the winners and the losers when it comes to, this season's NFL free agency. But like I said, first I want to talk about the Baltimore Ravens as defending Super Bowl champions who have probably been hurt the most by free agency, more than anybody else. They just lost Ed Reed to the Texans for, 3 years and $15 million, which is probably going to be his last contract. And, Rick, how do you see free agency this year? Who do you think did a good job? Who got hurt the most?
Well, I completely agree. Baltimore was completely decimated. I mean, that happens with most of the NFL teams that are not, are trying to win now. They got aging players, and they've lost pretty much every leader on that team has exited, other than Suggs. But I'll tell you what, losing Reed. I mean, that's a big one, man. I mean, I know that, losing Ray Lewis, he was their emotional leader. But Ed Reed was that rock on the back end of that defense, man. He was the last player, the last stop to the end zone. So he gave a lot of false confidence to those players in front of him. He allowed those defenders to get into the backfield. Because our quarterbacks, always had to keep an eye out. Where's Ed Reed? Before they threw that ball, they had to scan that field and look for that safety out there lurking. And I think that's going to be probably their biggest loss. But like you said, as far as winners, I'll be honest. I think the Broncos getting Welker is the final piece to the puzzle for that team. I think that it gives one heck of a weapon for that team. Peyton Manning, if they get on, if I was him, if they could get out in the summer and just start throwing patterns, I'd do that right now, because if they can hit the street running from week one and both stay healthy, that team is going to be impossible to beat. I'm telling you, they got the great defense already. They've got a good offense. Peyton Manning, he's a surgeon anyway, but now they just added the best route runner in the NFL to their team, somebody who can run option routes better than anyone. And as far as reading and reacting to a defense and picking the right spot to be, and now you got a quarterback who can anticipate that and get you the ball right where it needs to be. Again, like Brady, But I think even, I don't know, believe I'm saying this, but probably even better than Brady as far as that goes. The anticipation, that kind of thing. I think the Broncos have just set themselves up for a Super Bowl run.
All right, I can agree with that. Being a Patriots fan, it pained me to see Russ Welker sign with the
Oh,
Denver with the
I
Denver
didn't know
Broncos.
that.
With the Denver Broncos, it was very painful when that came across my cell phone, and I had to report that onto my Facebook page. Even though we did replace him with Amendola, who it just honestly, other than being younger than Wes Welker, like it's not even going to make a difference.
Well, I know he
Like,
trashed the Redskins, set records for for receptions when they played us. Amendola literally ripped us to shred. I think he had what 18 catches or some ungodly number, 200 some yards. But uh, I don't see that happening again.
yeah,
It's a totally different player. Welker, that he's just got the mentality. He's not afraid to go across the middle. He's absolutely fearless and quite frankly, the best route runner I believe still in the NFL right now.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. I'm going to say a winner, not necessarily due to free agency, but just due to trade, is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. I think somehow masterminding a trade to get Percy Harvin to pair with Russell Wilson and Sidney Rice and Marshawn Lynch is just like the one thing they need to get over the San Francisco 49ers, who in turn made made their own trade by getting Anquan Bolden from the Ravens to try to
Right?
keep up with that. I mean, look what nobody expected Seattle to do what they did last year. Russell Wilson came out of nowhere and was just as amazing as Robert Griffin III and Andrew Luck, and took his team further in the playoffs because he had the speed, he had the arm, which was surprising, and to give him somebody like Percy Harvin, who is a good slot receiver, and can catch the deep ball, is just adding an extra dimension to a team that is just, are building a pretty much a win now team, but also a win for the future because all their players are pretty much still in their mid to late 20s.
Yeah, how
And,
how
they can
scary is that? You look
they can
into the
ride this for a
backfield,
minute.
you got Marshawn Lynch, you got come on, man, Percy Harvin. I mean, who are you going to cover? What do you? I mean, that would be scary for any defense looking at backfield. I agree, that was ridiculous acquisition there, Percy Harvin. I mean, and you use him in the return game, use him outside
Yes.
in the slot, use him in the backfield. Uh, just insane. And then you got Marshawn Lynch jamming it down your throat, and then you put it in the gut, pull it back out in that zone read. Uh, just insane, dude. I agree.
It's simply amazing. And then just to have for the 49ers to make a trade for Anquan Bolden, I think is just it's a win for them, and it keeps them in competition with Seattle. St. Louis isn't going to be anything. They lost Amendola, they lost Steven Jackson, who now plays for the Atlanta Falcons. So, it's just pretty much a two-team race, and it's going to be exciting to watch those teams do battle this season, especially with Kaepernick getting the full season as quarterback. But they lost some defensive players. They lost one of their safeties, Golston.
Right.
That's gonna hurt their defense, especially if it comes to the teams throwing the deep ball on them. They still don't have any other receivers, I think, except for Manningham should be coming back off injury, and Randy Moss is still unsigned, uh,
Right.
and they lost Ted Ginn. Ted Ginn signed with the Panthers earlier this week. So, their receiving core, they kind of needed Anquan Bolden, but their receiving core is going to be a little light, which is, unless they can get some signings in there, they're going to have to rely a lot on Kaepernick's legs and Frank Gore's legs, which aren't really as good as they were 2 or 3 years ago. So
Yeah.
even though they get Anquan Bolden, they still going to have an uphill battle because they have an aging running back and a depleted receiving core, and they're weaker on defense.
That's true. But again, in that zone read scheme that they'll be running with Kaepernick again, I mean, you look at the Redskins, we had basically one receiver, Pierre Garcon, actually show up for half a season. I mean, we were throwing to, scrub backup tight ends and getting first down. So, Santana Moss is what, 52 years old? and had almost a career year. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all predicated on that zone read scheme, which apparently the defenses haven't caught up to. That was the big thing when the Redskins started running it. The whole Wildcat, all this other stuff. Oh, it's a fad. It's a gimmick offense. Gimmick offenses don't succeed in the NFL. Defenses will figure it out. Well, guess what? They haven't figured them out yet. And you get the right player back there running it the right way. You don't need a ton of weapons. You just need someone who can execute flawlessly, which so far the Kaepernicks and the RG3s have done. And when you run it the way it's supposed to be run, it's pretty unstoppable. I have visions of Osi Umenyiora and Justin Tuck, just Pierre Paul just destroying backfields for the Redskins for years. And in this new zone scheme, I mean, they're basically left sucking air. They don't even bother to block them in this scheme. I mean, it's unthinkable. Who's assigned to Umenyiora? No one. No one's got him as a blocking assignment, and yet he's not even a factor in the play. You've got the ball just going past him in two different directions, over his head, every other way. He doesn't even know where the ball is half the time. So until the defenses figure a way to stop that thing, I don't really think the marquee receiver is necessarily as big a deal. I think you need more right now. You're going to need a receiver that can block. You're going to need an all-around receiver, a receiver that can block, a receiver that can read defenses and make adjustments, and catch that ball. Get to that open spot and just catch that ball and hold on to it. And with this zone read scheme, I mean, we had receivers running wide open. Seattle too. I mean, you had receivers just running in wide open spaces because defense didn't know where the ball was. They just didn't know.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So that's good. So, and going with that with the teams, now that we've seen pretty much where all the big names are going to go, with the exception of see Brian Urlacher's still out there and a couple of other older defensive players out there. I know you picked the Broncos. You feel the Broncos, if they can get it together and chemistry can be built between Manning and Welker, that they can get to the Super Bowl and possibly win it. But who from the NFC do you see as being a possible Super Bowl contender?
I think it's Seattle, and I think it's San Francisco. I think those two teams are going to be back there again. I don't see anybody from the NFC East even coming out. I mean, we could end up with 4 teams at 8-8 in the NFC East. You just don't know. I don't know about the Giants. They need receivers. Dallas. I mean, they're trying to rework Romo's contract. I don't know why they would even want to do that. I think they ought to cut their losses with that one. I think that ship has sailed. Who knows what's going to happen in Philly? I don't know. I was in a discussion the other day with a friend of mine, and who do you have running that team? I mean, the quarterback wise. I mean, are you going to go with which? I don't know. You go with the new guy. You go with I don't know. I think they need to draft a quarterback. I think Gino would be great in that spot. I think they'll do a surprise there and draft him in the 4th round. I mean, the 4th pick overall. So who knows what's going on, man? I think you're going to see the same two teams. Going back Seattle. I think San Francisco. I think the Redskins being hampered with the salary cap hit and losing $18 million again. There's no way they can build that team up and make a run this year. RG3, you don't know what his status is going to be, how healthy he's going to be when he comes back, what game is he actually going to start. I know that Reebok's got their big all in for week 1 and all that other crap, which I think is just the worst thing you could do to a young player coming back from an injury like he had. I don't personally think he'll play to probably week 3. Not that I'm a doctor or anything, but I just think it's smart just to go ahead and be cautious. And think of the long term here. So I think you got San Francisco, Seattle. That's if I had to pick an early pick, I think that'll be my championship game for the NFC next year. And I think Broncos and maybe even like a New England or somebody coming out. But I think the Broncos are going to represent the AFC. If I had to pick today and put money on it, they would be my AFC pick to go to the Super Bowl already.
All right, I can definitely see that. Of course, I'm going to disagree on the Broncos. I still think that Peyton Manning is not the ultimate playoff quarterback and that he will continue to lose in the playoffs. He got his ring that everybody wanted him to get to solidify his greatness. But, track record shows that when it comes to the playoffs, he's just not that guy. And he will be overrun by Tom Brady again. And the Patriots will get back to the Super Bowl and win this time because we don't have Wes Welker and there's nobody to drop that pass.
But this time, Peyton has a go-to. He
Yes.
has a go-to, which he never really has. I mean, you can say Marvin Harrison, but again, that's the whole, was Marvin Harrison famous before or after Peyton Manning got there? I think Peyton Manning kind of made him who he was. And, I mean, he did have a decent season with the rookie last year, but still, I don't know, man. I think he's finally got a go-to, and if Welker stays healthy, and that's the key, they can get on the same page, they could rip right through the AFC, and we'll see. It'll be a nice game. I'd love to see it. Love to see another AFC Championship game with Peyton and Brady going at it. That would be entertaining.
It would be entertaining, and it would be great. And then we got to remember, yes, he's got Wes Welker, but yes, Wes Welker is known to drop big-time passes when they need to be caught in the clutch.
Come on, man. Come on, a couple passes. Give me a break now.
That's all you need is two to have a pattern in the NFL.
That's why what's her name was calling his name out in the stands, right?
Oh yeah, she was mad.
Throw it and catch it, right?
But it's like, but I agree with her because you see him make that catch a million times, and then you drop it at a point where you don't need to catch it. Well, I mean, when you don't need to drop it, you need to catch that pass, and if you catch that pass, then you win the Super Bowl. Like, it's.
I would just love to see Tom Brady go out for a pass. They'd break him up like a stick figure, like a pretzel.
Of course. He's not fast. He's running he's 35 now. He's probably running like a 7.5 40. Like, he's not going nowhere.
I love it.
He's not going nowhere. He's broken up, definitely. So you say the Broncos and either the Seahawks or the 49ers. I'm going to stick with my team, the Patriots, and I say the Patriots probably play the Seahawks. And as much as I would say that the Patriots would win this game easily, I think that I'm going to say Seattle is going to win the Super Bowl next year.
Whoa, nice.
I'm gonna pick that starting now. I'm gonna go against, even in my heart, I know that New England is going to Super Bowl and they're gonna win it. I am gonna say Seattle, just as to stir up some drama. The Seattle Seahawks will win the Super Bowl next year because Percy Harvin is out of Minnesota where he didn't want to be. He's not gonna fake the headaches. He's not gonna do any of that stuff that he was doing to not play and to not to hurt himself. I mean, he hurt his ankle. It wasn't even a strain or a sprain. They just kept saying he had a hurt ankle and he couldn't play. He knew what he was doing. He didn't want to be there no more. So now he's in Seattle. He done got his $60 million contract, and he's going to go out there and ball. He's still on turf. He's still in some sort of almost a dome atmosphere. And he's gonna run wild on kickoff returns, and he's gonna catch passes, and he's possibly gonna be an MVP runner-up, and they're gonna make it to the Super Bowl, and they're gonna win by about 5 points in the Super Bowl against the New England Patriots.
Wow. Well, he should have gone out and played for the Giants. They're good at flopping down on the field.
Now, unless that the Patriots decide to surprise everybody at the last minute and make this play for Victor Cruz, since he's a restricted free agent, and give him an offer, then there's no stopping New England.
I don't think the offense is going to be New England's problem. I think their defense is going to be the problem. I still think they're too old on the back end. They have no pass rush. I don't think Wilfork is getting older. I think the defense is what's going to be there. I mean, I know they can pretty much score with anybody, but you gotta have. They've been exposed with their defense the last couple of years.
They've been exposed with their secondary and their defensive backs, but they've re-signed Aqib Talib. They got what's the other guy from Arizona? I can't think of his name. They just signed him.
Right.
Adrian Wilson.
But the reason the secondary is getting exposed is because they're not getting a pass rush. I mean, that was the Redskins' problem. I mean, D. Hall's been villainized in Washington for years because he can't cover, but you can't cover somebody for 11 seconds. I mean, for a minute and a half. I mean, come on, they're not getting any pass rush. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I mean, like you said, the good thing is that their offense can score with anybody. So
Yes.
I guess we'll see how that works. But if we got a few minutes, I did want to tell you my little quick story here. Getting back to Juwan Howard. I worked. I've had probably 1,000 part-time jobs. I know we had talked before we started the show tonight, and we both had lived in Silver Spring for a while, in Silver Spring, Maryland, right outside of D.C. And while I was living up there, I had a part-time job working at the Dave & Buster's. Now, Dave & Buster's back then actually had a blackjack pit. Now, you didn't actually play for money. What you did was you go in and you basically you put $20 down to rent chips to play with. Of course, when the house took all your chips, you had to buy more chips or rent more chips. So in order for us to make any money and keep the pit open, you had to actually deal and win money. But the pit boss there was kind of she was a great schmoozer, and she liked to keep the customers happy. So she wanted them to win. Well, I had actually dealt blackjack in some of these casino nights at the little local firehouses, and I had kind of a competitive streak. I mean, I like to win. Even if I'm dealing to somebody else and I'm paid an hourly wage, I have basically no reason to win or no financial incentive to win. Pride takes over. So one night we're in the pit, we're dealing, and Juwan Howard comes in with his entourage. And they only had about 6 people with him, so it wasn't really crazy. But they came in to play blackjack in the pit. Of course, and he sat down at my table. And of course, I knew exactly who he was, and he was in a really good mood, and everybody was pretty lighthearted. They had a few drinks and whatever, so started dealing, and he started winning a few hands, and I told him, I said, I'm getting ready to take all your money. And he goes, how you figure that? I said, well, I'm going to start winning now. He says, oh, really? So he started doubling his bet, and that's exactly what I wanted him to do, just try to egg him on and play to his ego. And that cleaned him out. So he went back and he got another $20 worth of chips, and then I cleaned him out again. And we did this for about an hour, and after he'd run out of about $120, $140 worth of chips, he finally said, man, you all right? And he laid down $100 tip for the house there. So a great guy. I mean, he was actually a really cool guy in the end. I mean, I had, I was pretty upset with him at the time. I think he was just getting ready or had just left the Wizards at the time, or the Bullets, whatever. But turns out he was a really nice guy. Tipping $100 like that after getting his clock cleaned for an hour, I thought was pretty cool. So that was my run-in with Juwan Howard.
Wow, that's an amazing story, Juwan. He seems like a nice guy though.
Yeah, I got a feeling that his partner's a prick, but I mean he was fine. Oh Lord.
Yep. Well, that's going to be all we have for you for this evening on the Overtime Sports Radio Show. Again, we're sponsored here by Superfly 64 and JSNL Clothing, JSNLonline.com, and I am Tipsy. That is Rick.
That's right. It's Rick. Check me out on JustManTalk.com and at JustManTalk on Twitter. I appreciate being able to come on Overtime and hang out with you guys on Fuego Beach Radio. And look forward to coming back on and doing this thing again.
All right. Be sure to check me out on Facebook under Tipsy McStagger. Also on my Twitter at King5950. And I will keep you updated on all things sports and entertainment at all times. I'd like to thank all our viewers and hope to gather new viewers. Everybody.